Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter I won't budge, even if she never speaks to me again? My daughter Casey, 17F, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy her with our family budget. My other daughter, Alana, 16F, has ADHD, recently got her driver's license and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg, there was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we, since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't exist, and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for her school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe ADHD and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn the money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, "Well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced." I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm on our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but as a parent, I need to look out for all my children, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work, even if what you're asking for is unreasonable. Story 2. My husband considered it stealing when I sold his expensive watch to pay for our son's procedure. Am I the a-hole? My 6-year-old son had a medical issue and needed to have a procedure. My husband hasn't worked for 9 months after leaving his previous job, and my salary is barely enough to get us by. My husband bought some expensive things when he used to get paid. He had a high-paying job and saved no money, but instead bought some expensive stuff for himself. He had to sell most of it to be able to buy new clothes or get a new iPhone. He had an expensive wristwatch that he was keeping to wear at important occasions. We discussed coming up with money to pay for the procedure, and he refused to give up the watch and told me to find some other way to get the money when he knows I can't. He suggested our son stays on meds to manage the pain till I come up with the money, but the procedure was advised as soon as possible. I just could not bear seeing my son going through so much pain. I went ahead and sold the watch and paid for the procedure. My husband found out and immediately said that he considered the stealing and said that he won't look at me the same anymore. He didn't yell or react harshly, just kept saying that I committed theft and that I overstepped and betrayed his trust. After that, he stopped saying anything else to me, just that what I did was stealing. His family sided with him, and his mom, whom I'm not on good terms with, suggested that he either divorce me or get a lockbox to keep his stuff safe since I stole from him before. I was so devastated by how I was treated and thought that I was doing the right thing. Now he's making me feel like what I did was really stealing, regardless of the reason why I did what I did in his opinion. Was it really stealing? Story 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiance I don't want my Temu engagement ring? This was taken down from the other sub, so I figured I'd post here with an update. My 27F fiance, 29M, proposed to me a few weeks ago. It caught me completely by surprise, but we'd been together for 3 years and things have been going great, so I was really excited and said yes. I really liked the ring when I first saw it, and my friends and family all think it is stunning. It's an oval cut with diamonds across the band. I asked where he got it, and he wouldn't tell me where, but that he got a great deal on it. I didn't think anything of it until yesterday we were in bed, and I was asked him if it was diamond or moissanite, mainly out of curiosity. I don't have a preference BTW. He said he didn't know and would have to look it up. When I glanced over at his phone, he was in the Temu app. I asked him if he got it from there and he didn't respond. So I asked again and he responded with something like, "Does it matter?" And left the room and ended up sleeping on the couch. I spent all night so confused. Today decided to download the app and look up my ring, and I found one that looks identical. I found the exact ring and it listed at $38. I am mad. He makes good money, $200K/year, and I feel like he could have shelled out some money for a ring better than one on Temu. Am I the a-hole for telling him I don't want it? Story 4. Am I the a-hole for calling my friend a creepy weirdo after she posted a TikTok about my husband? I, 28F, am friends with this girl, let's call her June, also 28F. In fact, my husband, 32M, and I often hang out with June and her boyfriend, i.e. go on double dates, have weekend trips, etc. We've known each other for over 2 years. I would say that we four were pretty tight as a group, up until this weekend. My husband is an orthodontist. One of his patients is June's half-sister, Rhea, 12F. June often is the one accompanying Rhea to her dental appointments. June is also a small-time online influencer. She's always recording and vlogging and stuff. Though my husband and I have made it clear to her and we're absolutely not okay with our faces in her vlogs online, and she seemed to respect that boundary. We don't use social media apart from Reddit, and we trusted her word when she said she's not going to post this online. Cut to last weekend, my brother sent me this TikTok link with the message, "Dude, you gotta watch this." I opened the link and it directed me to June's TikTok account. She doesn't have much followers, less than 10K, but the particular video he sent me had like 500,000 views, likes. I'm not sure which. Lo and behold, it was a video compilation of my husband with the title, "God, I see what you've done for others." The video was honestly the creepiest thing I've ever seen. She had recorded my husband during various of our double dates together, and it was clear he wasn't even aware he's being recorded. In some of the clips, she would start with her face and then pan the camera towards my husband with a cutesy expression and mouthing words like, "Oh my God." The worst one was where he was working on her half-sister Rhea, wearing scrubs, and she'd recorded even that. She didn't even bother to blur out the kid's face while she was lying on the dental chair. I showed the video to my husband, and he was horrified. He said it made him so uncomfortable and violated knowing that someone had been secretly recording him. He was angry that she'd recorded him working on a patient. He texted her, asking to take down the video and delete every video she has of him. First, she feigned ignorance. Then she said that she meant no harm and that it was all for online engagement, since, I quote, "TikToks with hot guys go viral very fast," and that she gained a lot of followers after posting that. Just no. This was all so weird, but my husband and I got our families and friends to report the video, and thankfully it's being taken down now. This pissed off June, and she sent me a long-ass text saying how I was jealous of her online success and that I couldn't stand seeing her succeed, blah, blah, blah. I replied saying, "You're delusional and unhinged. You're not successful, and you'll never be. Stay away from us, you creepy weirdo." Now, she's all weepy and depressed and has been telling our common friends how mean I was to her. She's also been posting about mental health on her socials and about how mean some women are with their words LOL. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife? I'm honestly a mess and I don't know what to do, so any advice would be appreciated. I, 27M, and my husband, 37M, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37F, which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7M, who was adopted after we got married and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband, Peter, fake name, is bisexual. I have no problem with it, and I had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison, also fake name. I did have a problem with his family as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town because it was my son Jack's, fake name, birthday, and we wanted to spend it as family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Allison, so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Allison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment, but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I also was in shock, and I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Allison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present, and it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet, so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend, and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park, and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happy ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back. And all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable, and Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? Story 6. Am I the a-hole if I break up with my fiancée after she showed a startling change of behavior after getting engaged? I am 32, just recently proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years, Sharon, F30, like a month and a half ago, and it feels like the second the ring got on her finger, her attitude and behavior took a total 180. The entire time we were dating, we seemed exceptionally compatible, and at least it seemed we shared common beliefs and morals. 7 weeks ago, I proposed, and she said yes, and I felt like it was the happiest moment for the two of us. But not even a week later, it's like her attitude totally flipped. I thought I knew all her friends, but one day I came home, and there were 6 women I've never seen before, and Sharon introduced me to them. I was curious as to why I was just now meeting them, when I already met Sharon's 2 best friends, Michelle and Octavia, both not present, over a year and a half ago. Sharon said she wanted to make sure we were a sure thing before I met her inner circle. I found this strange, not to mention it was a weeknight, and they were quickly draining my wine rack of wine. Sharon still had her own place, but she stayed with me so often, she practically lives her. Still, I found it incredibly rude when they left, with 4 empty bottles of rosé in their wake. I tried to talk to Sharon about having uninvited guests on weeknights, and she dismissed my grievance very flippantly. More that she brushed me off. The following weeks, she went out with the girls several times, and when she brought the girls to my place, twice without notice, once with notice to appease me, her words, they all treated me like a butler, shaking their empty wine glasses at me for refills. After the 4th time, I made it clear that I will get a locked wine rack. Sharon just called me no fun after that. It gets worse. Sharon decided me and the girls got off on the wrong foot and said we should have dinner together at a nice restaurant. Well, I went, and it was not great. The 6 kept prodding me about my life, my house, my career, but deflected every question I asked. It got especially bad at night when they started talking about modern relationships and jealousy, and one of them brought up some key points about relationships that I thought Sharon and I were on the same page about, specifically what-ifs regarding polyamory and being friends with exes. To my shock, Sharon said we shouldn't be too hasty on such decisions, which was a total 180 to how she expressed herself on these things only a month prior, where she was vehemently against keeping ex-intimate partners in friend circles and was staunchly monogamous. The worst part was when the bill arrived, Sharon announced it should be together and slid me the check. I told her she can't be serious, and we got into a bit of an argument. I ended it by putting my amount down in cash and walked out, leaving them to figure out the rest of the bill. The next days after that, Sharon kept calling me toxic and fragile, but every time I even pushed at it, she would give an apology and promise she was just stressed at work. It's nuts. We haven't even planned the wedding yet. The worst part was this Monday, when at work I got a Nest doorbell alert, checked, and saw Sharon and one of her 6 new friends arriving at my place, going in and exiting with my golf clubs. This set was a gift from my father, and it cost a pretty penny too, so Sharon lending it out without my permission got me pissed. I immediately called Sharon and told her and her friend to return the clubs. Sharon tried to gaslight me with, But you promised to lend the clubs to her boyfriend, remember? I told her the club's cost would move it into a serious crime, and her friend had an hour to return them, or the cops would be called. Sharon kept insisting she got my permission, and I told her to cut the crap. Well, not 45 minutes later, I got another notification of Sharon and her friend coming back with the clubs and going inside, leaving them, Sharon's friend flipping off the Nest doorbell on the way out. I got home and saw Sharon's friend literally just threw the clubs and back on the living room floor. Sharon tried to talk to me about my toxicity again, and I told her again to cut the crap. I said if I knew this was how she was, I would have never proposed. That seemed to freak her out, and she again insisted that she was stressed from work. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her to return the ring and her key, and we would talk about our relationship this weekend. She cried and begged me not to cancel the engagement, and insisted that it was just stress. I told her again we will talk about it this weekend. She finally relented. I had my house rekeyed anyways after she left, just to be safe. Sharon has been texting me constant messages of love and apologies for getting swept up, and insisted she was only wanting to show me off to her close friends. I don't know, I'm just not buying it. The same close friends have been sending me texts daily, calling me toxic and fragile again, saying they knew I wasn't man enough for Sharon or secure enough to share her with friends. A few of my friends that knew Sharon the entire 2 years we were dating were surprised and can't believe she turned hide this quick, and that there must be something missing, or that I am leaving something out. They say I must have said something to trigger her friends to act like this, and I had to have been the AH somewhere along the process.